We believe our history is a straight line, an arrow of progress, shot from a primitive, superstitious past, flying true towards our own, brilliant, technological present. We are a civilization of answers. We have mapped the human genome. We have smashed the atom. We have sent telescopes to the edge of time and unraveled the very fabric of the cosmos. We are the masters of information. We are the children of the Enlightenment, of Newton, of Faraday, of Volta. We are the ones who tamed lightning. We see ourselves as the pinnacle, and we look at the great deserts of the world, especially one, and we see the proof of our superiority, the Sahara. It is the largest hot desert on Earth, a realm of 3.6 million square miles, roughly the size of the United States. It is the ultimate symbol of emptiness, of desolation, of death. It is a place defined by its absence of life, its absence of water, and therefore, its absence of history. We have drawn a line around it and declared it ahistorical. A void. This is the story we tell ourselves. This story is a lie. It is one of the single greatest misconceptions we hold about our own planet. Because under that ocean of sand, under that profound, crushing silence, lies a ghost, a phantom, the ghost of a different world. A world that was not brown, but green. A world that was not a desert, but a paradise. This lost world is not a myth, but a geological certainty. The African Humid Period, AHP, also known as the Saharan Wet Phase or the Neolithic Subpluvial. This was a time, from approximately 14,500 to 5,500 years ago, when the Sahara was transformed into a vibrant, life-sustaining ecosystem. The mechanism behind this radical transformation is a celestial ballet of orbital mechanics, a subtle but profound shift in the Earth's relationship with the Sun. The key lies in the Milankovitch cycles, specifically the cycle of axial precession. The Earth's axis wobbles like a dime top, changing the timing of the seasons relative to our orbit. During the AHP, the Earth's tilt was maximized, and the northern hemisphere summer coincided with the Earth's closest approach to the Sun, perihelion. This amplified the solar radiation received by the northern hemisphere, intensifying the West African monsoon. This intensified monsoon pushed moisture deep into the continental interior, dramatically altering the hydrological cycle. The average annual rainfall across the Sahara increased by up to 10 times the modern rate. This was a fundamental flip of the climate system, turning the world's largest desert into a landscape of vast inland seas, sprawling river networks, and lush savannas. Imagine a world where the Sahara is a mirror of the modern Serengeti. The fossil record, the paleobotanical evidence, and the geological formations confirm this vision. The landscape was dominated by grasslands and wooded savannas, supporting a megafauna that seems impossible today: elephants, hippos, rhinoceroses, giraffes, crocodiles, and aurochs. The most compelling evidence of this lost hydrology is the existence of Megalake Chad, or Paleolake Megachad. At its maximum extent, around 7,000 years ago, Megachad was the largest freshwater lake on Earth, covering an area of approximately 400,000 square kilometers, 154,000 square miles, larger than the Caspian Sea today. It acted as a massive reservoir, stabilizing the regional climate and providing a vast, navigable inland sea. Equally astonishing was the network of paleo-rivers. The most significant of these was the Tamanrasset River, a colossal paleo-river system that drained the Atlas Mountains and the Hadar Massif, flowing for over 1,000 kilometers before emptying into the Atlantic Ocean. Radar imaging has revealed the ancient, buried channels of this and other massive rivers. The Tamanrasset, if it existed today, would be the 12th longest river system on Earth. This green world was not empty. It was the stage for a profound human flourishing. The presence of water and abundant game allowed scattered hunter-gatherer groups to settle and thrive. The evidence of the culture that lived in this paradise is not found in monumental architecture. The shifting sands and the nature of their settlements meant that stone buildings were rare. Instead, their legacy is written on the very rocks of the desert, in the vast, open-air art galleries of the Central Sahara. To find the ghost of this civilization, you must go to the most desolate places on Earth. To the Tassili Najjar Plateau in Algeria, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Today, it is the definition of uninhabitable. And yet, here, The rocks are alive. They are covered in the largest art gallery on the planet. Over 15,000 known paintings and engravings. This is not the crude art of cavemen. This is a sophisticated, evolving, breathtaking 7,000-year-long Rosetta Stone of a civilization's rise and fall. It is a dynasty of styles, a cultural timeline etched in rock, reflecting the profound environmental and social changes of the Green Sahara. The oldest, from 12,000 to 9,000 years ago, is the Bubulus or large wild fauna period. These are massive, deeply cut petroglyphs, life-sized engravings of the world as it was. A world of giants, the Bubulus antiquus, an extinct buffalo with massive, 10-foot-wide horns, dominates these scenes. The art depicts elephants, rhinos, hippos, and giraffes, often rendered with a remarkable sense of movement and anatomical accuracy. The technique itself, using hard quartzites to hammer and grind the designs into the soft sandstone, was labor-intensive, a hunter's reverence for the power of the wild. But then, as the rains intensified and the culture evolved, the art changed. It became strange. This is the Roundhead period, from 10,000 to 8,000 years ago. The art moves from engraving to painting, utilizing mineral pigments, ochres, kaolin, to create vibrant frescoes. The subject matter shifts from the hunted animal to the human figure, but a human figure transformed. They are huge, floating, Martian-like beings. They have round, helmet-like heads, often without distinct facial features, and are depicted with strange, spacesuit-like forms. The most famous is the great god of Sfar, a colossal, 20-foot-tall being, painted on a rock wall, with strange antennae and a horned head. Is this a literal depiction of extraterrestrial visitors? The consensus among archaeologists is that these figures represent shamans in ritual attire, wearing elaborate masks and body paint, entering trance states to communicate with the spirit world. The Roundheads are a visual record of the birth of a complex, mystical cosmology, a shift from the purely naturalistic art of the hunter to the spiritual art of the emerging priest class. The world changed again, and the art changed with it. This is the pastoral period, from 7,500 to 4,000 years ago. The Roundheads disappear, and the art becomes intensely human and naturalistic again. It is delicate, beautiful, and full of life. It is characterized by an almost obsessive focus on cattle, often depicted in massive, flowing herds. The cattle are shown with specific markings, colors, and horn shapes, suggesting a sophisticated system of animal husbandry and perhaps even lineage tracking. This was not a hunt. This was a relationship. This was a people who had mastered the world through domestication. This was the great, Green Sahara civilization at its zenith. It is from this golden age that we find the masterpiece, the single greatest clue, the statue that truly, unequivocally, should not exist. To find it, you must travel to the Sahara Desert, in Niger. And there, on a flat, sandstone outcrop known as Dubus, you find it. It is a pair of giraffes. This description, a pair of giraffes, does not do it justice. This is a monumental stone carving, over 20 feet tall, carved with a precision and technical mastery that is breathtaking. This is a high-relief petroglyph, where the surrounding rock was meticulously carved away, making the giraffes pop out in 3 dimensions. The artist, not only carved away the rock but also used a technique of polishing the carved surface, giving the giraffes a smooth, almost living texture. The detail is astonishing. The individual patches of the coat, the muscles, the gentle, curious eye of the larger male. A thin line connects the smaller giraffe to the male. Is it a leash, symbolizing domestication, or is it a symbolic umbilical cord, representing the transmission of life or knowledge? The technical skill required for the Dubus giraffes is the paradox. The date, between 6,000 and 8,000 BC, is what breaks history. This is 4,000 to 6,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is before the first stones were raised at Stonehenge. The Dubus giraffes are the Mona Lisa of the Stone Age, a monument of sophistication that simply should not exist for its time. It implies a society capable of supporting specialized, non-subsistence labor, a master artist or a guild of artists, commissioned and sustained by a wealthy, organized community. The final phase, the Equidian period, c. 3000–1200 BP, marks the beginning of the end. As the desertification accelerated, the art reflects a harsher, more mobile lifestyle. The horse, equid, becomes the dominant motif, often depicted pulling chariots or carrying riders. This is the art of a people on the move, a society struggling to maintain its way of life in a rapidly deteriorating environment. The art becomes less focused on spiritual or domestic life and more on mobility, warfare, and survival. The entire Tassili-Najjar sequence is a powerful, 7,000-year-long narrative of a civilization's birth, golden age, and slow, desperate retreat. But where are their temples? Their universities? For this, we must go east, to the border of Egypt and Sudan, to a place that, today, is so remote and lifeless, it is used by NASA to simulate the surface of Mars. A place called Nabta Playa. Here, in the 1990s, archaeologists led by Fred Wendorf found something that turned the story of Egypt on its head. It was a stone circle. A small, humble, megalithic calendar. A mini Stonehenge. But the dating was, again, impossible. The Nabta Playa stone circle is 7,000 years old, making it the oldest known astronomical alignment on Earth. It is 2,000 years older than Stonehenge. The site is far more than a simple circle. It is an observatory, a complex of megalithic structures that demonstrate an advanced understanding of celestial mechanics. The stones align to mark the summer solstice, a critical event that signaled the return of the monsoon rains, the lifeblood of the Green Sahara. This alignment was not a coincidence. It was a precise, functional calendar. The ability to predict this event with precision would have been a matter of life and death, elevating the astronomers, the priests, to a position of immense authority. The site's complexity extends beyond the main circle. The megalithic alignments, the tumuli, and the associated settlements form a planned, ritual landscape. Archaeologists found megalithic burial mounds, or tumuli, for cattle. These people worshipped cattle, sacrificing a young cow and burying it with ceremony in a stone-lined chamber. This was not merely a food source. It was a religion, a cattle cult that placed the bovine at the center of their cosmology. This cattle cult is the direct link to the later Egyptian civilization. The Egyptian goddess Hathor, the goddess of the sky, love, and motherhood, is consistently depicted as a cow, or a woman with the horns and sun disk of a cow. Her epithet, Mistress of the West, may be a deified memory of the Green Sahara, the fertile western homeland that was lost to the sands. Most tellingly, they found an alignment of large, megalithic stones that, when the star charts were run backwards, perfectly aligned with the belt of the constellation Orion as it would have appeared in the sky around 6000 BC. This is the smoking gun. These were not simple hunter-gatherers. These were astronomers. These were a people with a complex religion, a sophisticated understanding of death and burial, and an advanced, multi-generational knowledge of celestial mechanics. They were mapping the heavens. The existence of Nabta Playa forces a re-evaluation of the entire Neolithic period. The traditional narrative places the birth of astronomy and monumental architecture in the Near East and Europe. Nabta Playa proves that the intellectual and technological foundations for these achievements were laid in the heart of Africa, thousands of years earlier. It suggests a society with a dedicated class of priests or scholars who maintained and transmitted this astronomical knowledge across generations. The Saharan mother culture was not only advanced in art and astronomy. It was a cradle of technological innovation. The term Neolithic often conjures images of simple stone tools, but the Saharan Neolithic was a period of rapid, sophisticated technological development. One of the most significant innovations was the independent development of pottery. The earliest known pottery in Africa, and some of the oldest in the world, dates back to around 9500 BC in the Central Sahara. This pottery, often characterized by distinctive wavy line and dotted wavy line patterns, was not merely decorative. It was a technological solution for a mobile, pastoralist lifestyle, allowing for the storage of water and the processing of wild grains and milk. The Saharan people were also masters of lithic technology, stone tool production. The later pastoral period saw the development of highly refined, pressure flake tools, including microliths and bifacial arrowheads, essential for hunting and defense. The precision required to create these tools, often involving heat treatment of the flint, points to a deep, empirical understanding of material science. But the development of animal husbandry was, arguably, the most transformative technology. The domestication of cattle in the Sahara was a monumental achievement. This was not a simple capture of wild animals. It was a process of selective breeding and management that transformed the wild Bos primigenius into the docile, productive Bos taurus. The ability to manage massive herds of cattle, moving them across the vast, seasonal landscape, required sophisticated social organization, veterinary knowledge, and advanced tracking. The Saharan mother culture was, therefore, a techno-pastoral society where advanced astronomical knowledge, sophisticated material science, and complex social organization were all integrated to support a highly successful, cattle-based economy. So, who were they? This is the great enigma. The orthodox view is that they were, indeed, just highly sophisticated hunter-gatherers and pastoralists. We have simply, and arrogantly, underestimated them. But it feels insufficient. The 7,000-year-long art academy at Tassili and the generational data collection at Nabta Playa in Playa priesthood, a continuous cultural transmission. This leads to the heretical theory. The theory of the lost civilization. What if it wasn't scattered tribes? What if it was a single, vast, unified civilization? A Saharan empire? But if it was a great civilization, where is its capital? Where is its city? This is where we must look at the eye of the Sahara. The Richat structure. In the nation of Mauritania, there is a geological feature so strange, it is visible from space. It is a 25-mile wide, perfect set of concentric rings. The orthodox explanation is that it is a 100-million-year-old geological dome, a domed anticline that has eroded. It is a natural formation. However, the sheer symmetry and the historical context of the Green Sahara have fueled the alternative theory that the Richat structure is the physical location of the lost city of Atlantis, as described by Plato. Plato's description of Atlantis details a capital city built on a hill, surrounded by alternating rings of land and water, connected by canals, and located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the Strait of Gibraltar. The Richat structure, with its concentric rings, its location on the edge of the Green Sahara, and its proximity to the Atlantic, fits the geographical description uncannily well. The heretical theory does not require the Richat structure to be a literal, stone-built city. It could have been a ceremonial center, a massive, natural temple that was modified and utilized by the Saharan civilization. The concentric rings could have been used for ritualistic purposes, for astronomical observation, or as a massive, natural amphitheater for communal gatherings. The sheer act of adopting such a monumental natural feature as a capital would have been a statement of power and spiritual connection to the land. The lack of monumental archaeological evidence remains the primary obstacle. However, the Saharan mother culture, as evidenced by Nabta Playa and the Tassili art, was not primarily a stone-building culture. Their settlements were likely built from perishable materials, wood, reeds, and mud brick, which would have been entirely erased by the subsequent 6,000 years of hyper-aridity and wind erosion. The Richat structure, therefore, serves as the missing hypothesis for the Saharan mother culture. It provides the geographical and symbolic center that links the astronomical knowledge of Nabta Playa with the artistic sophistication of Tassili Najjar. But if this civilization existed, where did it go? This is the most tragic part of the story. This is the deletion. The civilization was not erased by war. It was erased by the sky. Around 5000 to 4000 BC, the Earth's wobble, which had given life, took it away. The monsoon rains shifted south. They stopped. This is known to paleoclimatologists as the 5.9 kiloyear event. The Green Sahara's death was not slow. Geologically, it was instantaneous. It was a climate tipping point. Paleoclimatic data from marine sediments and lake cores show that the transition from a wet, stable climate to a hyper-arid desert took place over a period of only a few centuries, perhaps even less than 200 years. The consequences were immediate and devastating. The vast megalake Chad shrank to a fraction of its size. The Palo rivers dried up. The lush savanna died, replaced by the relentless, wind-sculpted dunes of the modern Sahara. This triggered a devastating positive feedback loop. As the vegetation died, the bare, reflective sand bounced more sunlight back into space, further cooling the land, and further weakening the monsoon. The people of the Green Sahara became the world's first, and perhaps largest, climate refugees. This was the Saharan diaspora, a mass exodus of millions of people from a dying paradise. This was a desperate, mass exodus. Where did they go? They fled in all directions. Some went west, becoming the ancestors of the Berbers. Some went south, into Central Africa, carrying with them the knowledge of cattle herding and acting as a key driver of the Bantu expansion. And some, a large, organized group, went east. They fled to the only place in that part of the world that still had water. The one place that was immune to the new drought. A thin, green, linear oasis. The Nile Valley. And here, this is the heretical theory's grand conclusion. The one that rewrites everything. What is the Egyptian civilization? For centuries, its rise has been a mystery. Archaeologists call it the pre-dynastic. Around 4000 to 3500 BC, the simple, tribal cultures of the Nile Valley suddenly explode. This is the Nabta explosion. The Badarian culture, c. 4400–4000 BC, was characterized by small, scattered settlements and simple pottery. Then, around 4000 BC, the Nabta culture appears, marking a rapid and profound transformation. Social stratification, the appearance of elite burials, often containing rich grave goods, indicates a sudden rise in social hierarchy. Technological advancement, the rapid adoption of copper metallurgy, sophisticated flint knapping, and high-quality, decorated pottery. Political unification, the rapid consolidation of political power, leading to the symbols of kingship that would define the pharaonic state. Writing, the earliest forms of Egyptian hieroglyphs appear suddenly, fully formed. Mainstream Egyptology calls this a sudden, indigenous miracle. But what if it's not? What if the sudden rise of Egypt is the final, desperate arrival of the Saharan refugees? The timeline fits perfectly. The Sahara dies exactly when Egypt is born. The Saharan refugees were not simple nomads. They were the inheritors of a 7,000-year-old tradition. They brought with them the intellectual and religious traditions to act as a cultural catalyst. What if the pharaohs, the god-kings, were the descendants of the astronomer priests from Nabta Playa? What if the cow goddess Hathor is the cow called from Nabta Playa? What if the obsession with Orion's belt, which perfectly matches the layout of the Giza pyramids, was not an idea invented by the Egyptians, but was a memory, a sacred blueprint, carried out of their lost, western homeland, from their original temple at Nabta Playa? What if the entire Egyptian civilization is just the child of this greater, older, lost Saharan mother culture? This is the great secret. The deletion was so perfect that the child, Egypt, forgot its own parent. The desert did not just erase the civilization. It entombed it. The Sahara is not a place with no history. It is a graveyard. It is, perhaps, the cradle of our entire civilization, buried under 300 feet of sand. The statues that shouldn't exist. The dubious giraffes. The paintings of Tassili. They are not primitive art. They are the last, beautiful, haunting photographs of a lost world. The line of history is not straight. It is a circle, and the desert is a warning. The story of the Green Sahara is a profound challenge to our modern hubris. We see ourselves as the pinnacle, masters of our environment, immune to the forces that shaped the ancient world. But the Saharan mother culture was not primitive. It was a civilization of astronomers, artists, and master herders, a society that flourished for over 7,000 years. The lesson is that civilization is a climate phenomenon. It is a fragile gift, dependent on the delicate balance of the Earth's systems. The collapse of the Green Sahara was a climate tipping point, a rapid, non-linear change that our modern climate models are increasingly warning us about. The Sahara is a warning, written in sand, to our own, fragile, modern world. It proves that a golden age can be turned to dust, not by war, not by folly, but by the simple, terrifying, unstoppable shifting of the rain. The ghost of the Green Sahara is a reminder that our own technological brilliance is not a shield against the power of the planet. It is a mirror, reflecting the fate of a great civilization that thought it had mastered the world, only to be erased by the sky. The modern world faces a similar, though human-accelerated, crisis. We are altering the delicate balance of the global climate system at a pace far exceeding the natural orbital shifts that destroyed the Saharan civilization. The melting of the polar ice caps, the disruption of ocean currents, and the increasing frequency of extreme weather events are all signs that we are approaching, or have already crossed, critical tipping points. The Saharan diaspora was the first great climate refugee crisis. The modern world is already grappling with mass migrations driven by drought, sea level rise, and resource scarcity, a direct echo of the ancient tragedy. The desert did not just erase a civilization. It left a message. It is a message of humility, a message that reminds us that our most profound achievements, our art, our science, our social structures, are built on a foundation of climate stability. When that foundation shifts, everything collapses. The Sahara is not a void. It is a prophecy. The question is not if we will face a climate tipping point, but when, and whether we will heed the warning written in the sand by the civilization that was erased by the sky.